Delighted to bring Representative Berny Jacques to the stage.
Patriots, are you committed to taking your country back? Are you committed to keeping Florida free? And are you committed to reclaiming our elections? So I'm Berny Jacques, State Representative from House District 59. I'd like to thank Raj for the great introduction. I'd like to thank you for your tireless work in this movement. Let's give it up for Raj. So, for my remarks today, I'm going to talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we are going when it comes to the fight for election integrity here in the state of Florida. Now, when it comes to where we've been, many of you all remember that Florida was the laughing stock, when it comes to anything elections. Going back to the 2000 elections with the hanging chads and the dimple chads and all that, the recounts. I was in middle school at the time. I remember, seeing it on the news. But it was not a good look, right? Not a good look. To the point where you had very razor-thin margins, and the balance of the country has to be decided by the Supreme Court. That's no way to run, a republic. Amen. But you don't have to go as far as the year 2000. It's funny to say that because that used to be the future when they did to the year 2000. Now we're saying you don't have to go as far back as the year 2000 to see the debacle that has happened in our state. Just go back to 2018. When you had a lot of shenanigans due to South Florida, you had some very derelict or maybe complicit supervisors of elections down in Broward and Palm Beach. And because of that, we had several statewide elections that were jeopardized. You recall the U.S. Senate race had to go into manual recount, and we only won that by 0.12 percentage points. About 10,000 votes. DeSantis versus Gillum was only about a 30,000 vote margin. Think about that, 30,000 votes. About 0.4 percentage points. Had to go into a machine recount. And then a lot of people forget about Matt Caldwell. Poor Matt Caldwell. Matt Caldwell was running for Commissioner of Agriculture, actually won on election night, and because they were magically finding ballots in all sorts of random places, they take the election from him, and that's how we got Nikki Fried. So do not get amnesia, and I know you all won't, when it comes to elections here in our state. When people tell you all is well, that was not that long ago, right? And so, and just think about it for a second. They pulled one off against Matt Caldwell, but imagine if they were successful in stealing the election from Governor DeSantis and we had Governor Gillum. Think about that. Where would we be? Well, number one, you have a meth head in the governor's mansion, and that same meth head would be shutting you down during COVID while doing Lord knows what in that governor's mansion. So we really dodged the bullet, but it came that close. It came that close. So that's where we've been. Where are we currently? Since the 2018 debacle, Florida has done a lot, in addressing election integrity. We, removed those supervisor of elections down in South Florida, both in Broward and Palm Beach. Under the leadership of Governor DeSantis and the Republican legislature, we banned ballot harvesting, we banned the unsupervised drop boxes, we strengthened signature verification, we made sure that we don't automatically send out the mail-in ballots anymore, so people have to actually request it for every cycle, so it's not just out in the ether, and who knows who's voting and who's bubbling it in and sending it back. And we created an elections crime office where we can go after people who cheated in our elections, and there have been several arrests. The same people will tell us that this isn't happening, and why are people being arrested and being convicted for cheating in elections, voting when they shouldn't be, and just recently a non-citizen in Tampa, was convicted for voting in elections. So it's happening. Now, just because we've done these things, it is important, and I will tell you this, members of the grassroots, I'm from the grassroots. That's how I came up. While we work hard, and I'll give it up for the grassroots, give it up to you all. That's the lifeblood of our party, the grassroots. So, although we made all of these gains, it's important to acknowledge that we've made advancements, right? Because, we have a great governor, we had these supermajorities, but we can't just say all is well, mission accomplished, let's move on, nothing to see here. If we take that position, that would be a very dangerous thing to do. Because then you're putting your blinders, you're not really seeing what you should be seeing, and next thing you know, the very thing that you fought against creeps back up because you thought we've done it all, and we haven't done it all. So although we've done these reforms since getting elected, working with you all, working with groups like you, working with Raj, we've been able to file an election integrity bill every single session since I've been in office. So during my first session, we filed a bill actually taking on the Capitol Police. The Capitol Police out of Washington, D.C. You all remember around 2020, there were reports coming out saying that the Capitol Police out of Washington, D.C., not even our state capitol, the Capitol Police, U.S. Capitol Police, was setting up like a field office in Tampa. It's very bizarre. People were scratching their heads. They're like, that's odd. I mean, that's quite a long ways from the U.S. Capitol. So people really wanted to see what's going on here. What are they doing here? But the problem is you literally don't have a right to know what they're doing here. Probably unconstitutionally, but under the current law, because they fall under the legislative branch, they are not part of what's called FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, which applies to the executive branch. So now you have a law enforcement agency that works for the Congress that is not subject to any kind of public records. They're not subject to any kind of revealing of their activities. And so when you have them set up shop miles and miles away from their headquarters to our state and in our area, it's puzzling and it's very upsetting when you can't even know what they're doing here. And if you think about it, because of the dichotomy of them being the legislative branch and not being subject to public records, you're more likely to get records from the CIA than the Capitol Police. Mind-boggling. And I think if our founders, came back and saw such of an arrangement, let alone just like, the Capitol having their own police that is not subject to any kind of, public records, but yet being within the states without any kind of jurisdiction or any kind of invitation, or maybe there was invitation, we don't know. They would be pretty heated, right? In a free republic that the people have no kind of accountability in one of their branches of government. And so I filed a bill that simply said, why don't they, they should just get out. But if you're not gonna get out, why not just comply with basic public records laws that every Floridian agency has to comply by? And Florida has a pretty robust public records of sunshine, government of sunshine and all that. You can get records. So if you wanted to get, records from, city of Tampa Police, city of St. Petersburg, city of Boca Raton, you can get records, but yet you can have a new police agency come in and not be subject to any of the things that our state police and government agencies are. And so I said, if you're going to be operating here, at least open the books. Comply by the law here within the state of Florida. And when I filed the bill, a lot of people saw it as, a government overreach, taking, back our state, pushing back against government overreach and transparency. And it was all of those things. But if you think about the timeline of when they started coming down to Florida, use your common sense. We know why they were coming down. It was right after J6. Yeah. And what was J6 about?
Cover up election 2020.
A corrupt election, a stolen election, all of the above.
Yes.
And so when they came down here, make no mistake, the intent was to intimidate you and to make sure that you never question a future stolen election. And that was wrong, and everybody needs to push back against it. They need to get the hell out of our state, or at least open up the book. On session number 2, we filed a bill, very common sense I thought, that banned foreign-made machines. We're just starting off with the foreign-made machines. Let's ban foreign-made machines and software from our elections and allow local county supervisors of elections to do hand counting if they want to at the precinct level, right? By the way, this is an idea that originated with you all, Defense Florida. So, and it you know, what is radical about that? There wasn't even necessarily, I mean, the only mandate is, I mean, why would we want foreigners to be controlling anything in our elections, right? So, I mean, that's pretty common sense. And the option B was just literally an option. It's up to them if they want to hand count. Why would you prevent somebody from hand counting if that's the way they want to do it and it's still accurate, it's still go by the systems, and there's still checks and balances? But unfortunately, you know, we had some headwinds there. So session number 3, this past session, we filed HB 831, I believe it was. I get, you know, a lot of people know my bill numbers more than I do because we filed all these bills. But this bill basically verified citizenship. It was our citizenship verification bill that cross-checked our databases to make sure that non-citizens were not voting in our elections, non-citizens were not registering to vote in our elections, and to put an identifier on every driver's license and ID, whether or not somebody is a citizen or not. We need to know if you're a non-citizen, because that could be the last line of defense when you go to vote and you show that ID. If we see non-citizen, that should be the red flags. What happened? Well, here's the bad news. So all of these bills did not come to pass. All of these bills were not passed into law. In fact, they didn't even get a hearing. Not even a hearing. And this brings me to the third portion of my remarks. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And that's where you come in. Right. I need you to make those calls, yes. I need you to keep up your commitment, your involvement. It is essential to this movement of election integrity. I need you to stay involved. It's critical that you stay involved, because if it's not your voice, there's not a lot of other voices telling us to do this. Ordinary voters believe in what you're doing, but a lot of people are busy. They're raising their children, you know, they're going to work, they're picking the kids up from practice. They've got a lot going on, I get it. But when I go door to door and I meet them at their doorstep, believe me, election integrity is a top issue that they want to see addressed when we talk about it. But when it comes to the activists, the people lending voice to the issue, if it's not you, it's not going to be a lot of people. So I need you to remain in the fight. Remain in the fight. Yes. Yes, get involved in the elections, but also get involved with the current memberships, the current people in the legislature, to talk to them about these issues. Walk the halls. Bring the handouts. Show the demonstration videos. Bring the cookies. We have a lot of cookies on our desk. All right, look at the cookie lane. Let's give it up. They're pretty awesome. So keep doing these things, because do not underestimate the impact that you're making. Because although these bills didn't pass, here's what I can tell you, and I think, you know, Raj can attest to this. Melissa King, you know, from right in front of me. You know, you can attest to this, and a lot of folks who walk these halls, we increase our co-sponsorships. So even though we didn't, it usually starts with just me, and then I bring on a prime co-sponsor, and then it's just us, and we're having these conversations, and not everybody, and I get it, right? There's a lot of other issues, whether it's public safety, illegal immigration, there's a lot of important things within the state, so not everyone is immediately thinking about this, but when we speak to them, my colleagues say, yeah, that makes sense. But whenever you meet with somebody, I can tell because I'm starting to get new notifications, request to co-sponsor in my email system. And that's when I know Defend Florida was on the ground. That's when I know election integrity groups were speaking to conservative members, because then they're like, hey Bernie, they came and saw me and add me as a co-sponsor. That makes a difference because it shows that we are not alone. And it helps when it's just me and my other prime co-sponsors. Sometimes it can get lonely, in this fight. And so sometimes, we could beat the drums, but it takes somebody from their own county and their own community that comes up and say, hey, we know you, we want you to work with Representative Jacques on this bill, and Representative Tremont work with me on this issue as well, and to come along and to do this. So do not underestimate. So if you can move that needle, imagine what you can do if you keep it up when we have more reinforcements to finally get the job done in securing our elections here in the state of Florida. You can do it, and we will do it if we do not get weary and if we do not give up. So I'll leave you with this. Keep up the fight. Keep up the involvement. Do not get weary, because when you do, we will continue to take our country back, we will continue to keep Florida free, and we will reclaim our elections once and for all. Thank you, God bless. And thank you, Ron, for everything that you're doing for our movement.
How about that? How about that? Can you imagine if we had few more men and women like Representative Jacques? Can you imagine those people that didn't want to hear us bill? It's our job to put new people in place, heading those chairs, so the next time a representative like Representative Jacques takes a bill, the bill gets heard. Whose job is it? Our job. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh wait, we got one more thing. All right, Representative Jacques has a few more minutes, so we're going to do some Q&A. We got an announcement. Think of the question.
Okay, speaking of cookies, these are for you from the cookie lady, and there's some brownies in there too. And I have extras at home, and Melissa's going to drop some off for Benjamin at the office. So, sorry, just Benjamin. So there he is. Okay, so you're going to get yours too, Benjamin. We love the aides that our congressmen have, because they are so key to us getting through the door to get to our congressmen, and yours have always been so great. So thank you, Benji. And thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. I think we've got time for a couple questions, Ross. Okay. Yes, sir.
Could you please explain how come the FSE Inc. is not subject to Florida sunshine laws? FSE Inc. Supervisor of Elections Inc.
Okay. So I'll have to look into that. I think it's their association that they put together. So, and maybe that's something we have to look into, because the sunshine law, directly governs governmental entities. So I guess a roundabout, maybe when you set up a kind of I don't know how they're set up, but I imagine probably maybe a nonprofit or some kind of an association type of designation. Okay, so that's. Yeah, so there might be an argument, yeah, if they're doing business, like official business, as they go to these conferences, then that could be the case. Let me take the gentleman back here. Yes, sir.
Hey, Bernie, you ran a great bill last session to limit corporate ownership of homes. I was wondering if you could file it again.
Yeah, thank you. So that's another bill that we ran. So did everyone hear the question? So I filed a bill that took on the corporate ownership of single-family homes. That is proliferating across our state. It really is a scourge when it comes to limiting the American dream. Because if an ordinary citizen cannot pursue and access property, I mean, are you really a free citizen? And what these corporates are doing is they're buying up these homes, they're keeping it in their portfolio simply for rentals. They're not even bringing it back to the market. So the supply is limited, meaning the price goes up. So if you're a middle class person, you're a young family just trying to get started, you can't get into home ownership. Or if you're trying to outbid a private equity firm or a multi-million-dollar corporation, good luck. You're not going to win that fight. And so this is something we're trying to limit and try to empower local governments to push back against some of this expansion that's happening. And unfortunately, that's another one, not even a hearing. We're looking into it, and we're talking to a lot of folks we're not done with the issue. I mean, I was just at a conference in Dallas with some other legislators talking about this issue, and we're going to need to keep this up because the American dream will be gone right before our eyes if we don't maintain our position here.
Go after the lobbyists.
Something that they care about a lot, so
Yeah.
we're probably going to push it on our agenda.
Thank you. Yeah, keep it up. You got it. Yes, sir.
One sentence for must-pass legislation. SOEs must verify citizenship. Let them do it.
Yeah.
The data is available. Ours would be happy to do it, but he can't step out of line against the FSC.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's basically what the bill did. It outlined the ways you would verify and to do it. It gets complicated with some, there's some federal preemption, there's things that we have to navigate around, but I think the bill that we filed would have accomplished that, because if you just keep it as broad as that, I mean, sometimes you have to really give direction, because what county are you from? Brevard, yeah. So you got a good one over there. Yeah. But I met him at Bob White's RLC deal. And so we have to make sure for some of the others to give them specific instructions, because they'll just say, oh yeah, I verified by checking this. I did a Google search and nothing came up. So what does verification mean? Sometimes you got to hold these people accountable. The good ones know what that means. Some of the other ones, they're going to be marching orders through legislation. Let me go to you, and I'll come to you, my friend.
And that'll be the last question over there, if we could.
Thank you, Bernie. I never knew of you before this. I'm from Brevard. If we want everybody to know in Florida about what goes on in Tallahassee when they're up there secretly and they come back and lie to us and tell us everything, then the question is, why don't we have some kind of person, like if anybody knows John Holloman, as well as people like you, put into a central blog and have that shotgun to every radio in Florida is largely conservative, and then the local people could know the ifs and buts that the Democrat Tallahassee or the Miami Herald will not tell the people, and everybody who's vote or a Republican state will know what they're really doing. Not what they're lying to us about. They're not telling us about.
Wow, great point. And this is where this group and this movement that you started, Raj, comes into place. Because if you can create that, you have the email list, the communications, you scale it, you can definitely get the message out. The issue is, and we have an e-newsletter, so I encourage you to subscribe to that. You'll see everything that we're doing. Just go to berny4florida.com. That's Bernie with a Y, not I-E like the socialist. Just to be clear, F-O-R, Florida spelled out. And you can subscribe to our e-newsletter. You'll see everything we're doing, but we're doing a...
Do that when everybody listens to their car radio. Everybody listens to their car radio. If they turn it on, they see that some guy they thought was George Bush or Abraham Lincoln is really a crook. That's what we need to know. Who's selling us out?
Yeah, look, and it has to be a grassroots movement. It really does have to be. Absolutely. Pull together and come up with a movement. We'll get that done. Yes, sir. My man from Tampa.
Thank you, Bernie. He's been a big leader on the U.S. Capitol Police, and I want to make sure I cautioned you about that. The law enforcement agencies operate under a multi-jurisdictional task force quite often. So the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, the public records that you would request, that if there was a problem when they seized your property, there was an accident or pursuit, they shot your dog, they made an arrest, and there was a bad use of force, all of it would be under the Capitol Police if they were working in that multi-jurisdictional task force. Their expansion from Tampa, San Francisco, Milwaukee, and Boston, and Texas and Houston was a threat under the past administration. We're hoping that the present Trump administration will turn that around. And Bernie did do a good job of helping me and everyone else with that. Thank you very much. That's my question.
Well, thank you. It's a good way to end, but it illustrates a point that involvement is key. Because, I mean, working with a lot of folks, I mean, we have an open door policy. We'll take ideas, as long as they're principled, they fit our values, we will run it up the chain and we will fight for you all. So do what your fearless leader has done, do what many people in this room have done, is getting involved and staying involved. The fight is never won overnight. Sometimes it's a long journey ahead, but in the end we know that we win. Thank you, God bless.
Bernie, we've got one more question, but before Bernie leaves, guys, make sure that you guys look at this sheet, because this is actually all of these organizations, Representative Jacques, came together in spite of all the opposition. All of these groups, not just Defend Florida, but Citizens Defend Freedom, America First, Election Integrity Brigade, Lee County Republican Assembly, Truth First, Turning Point USA, the Hollow USA. All of these guys came together. Bob White, Republican Liberty Caucus, FRA. So Representative Jacques, it's just a hunger with people for action, for the ideals that you represent, and people are coalescing to have that Florida Citizens Alliance right there. So yes, we got one more question from Bill Van Allen. Go ahead, big comment.
Pleasure to have you here, Bernie. And thank you for standing for your values and our values. The Florida election law, as I see it, has a couple of big holes in it. And I'm not speaking about transmitting vote totals over the internet. I'm talking about chain of custody issues, and the biggest one is right now, the way the law is written, as I understand it, even with the last reform, the ballot of record is the machine totals. It's not the actual paper ballot totals. And the way you can verify that is because the machine totals are what's used in a recount. If you can make, is there any impetus, would you be interested in making the paper ballot, since they put the mark sense ballots in all the counties, you know, would you be interested in putting that together as a ballot of record?
Yeah, we can look into that. I was not aware of that, and that's why I love coming to these groups, because you learn something new every day. And again, I tell people this all the time when I speak to any group. When you're a legislator, you get elected, you're expected to vote on everything, but there's no way you can know everything, right? If you think about everything the state deals with, I mean, from everything from, you know, environmental policy, roads, you know, police, you know, schools, you name it. So it takes groups like you all to inform us about what's happening, because there's no way we can keep up with it all. So that's something we can look into. I was not aware of that. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. You got it. Yep, you got it. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. God bless.